which is the sexual deviant's favorite.
Great.
Tarot version.
Thoth.
The Thoth card,
deck?
yeah, I
Yeah.
have the Thoth deck.
Yeah.
A little
Okay,
one.
guys. So we have 40 minutes until 12:30, which is our usually our time for if we want an hour and a half for lunch. I assume that's still important for everybody. Yes,
Yes.
and at 12:30. Thank you, Guy. So I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this, otherwise we're undermining the purpose of this. We could either do the original plan, which is split into two groups, and another two people facilitate some very short constellations, or we can do something together. I have to say the energy of doing something together seems to be what the group wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just feeling the group, it's like you're soothed when we see things together, even hard stuff.
Yeah.
Also, we're transitioning out of you just talking about the togetherness
Right.
that we want to
Exactly.
increase.
And if we stay together, then there's still, somebody can still facilitate a constellation, a short constellation, or I could facilitate something, and what's coming to me right now would be spending a second with myself and finding a ritual constellation for us to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have anything primed, so I'd have to actually spend a minute with myself. It feels like the group has decided to stay together. So do you want to have somebody facilitate, or would you like to have
Ritual?
something?
Ritual.
Yeah. You're doing something,
Yep.
Rachel.
I'd like to know a little bit more about what it would be, but I'm
By the way, don't look. This
Either
is
way.
last weekend desires. I know this now is all like in front of our face, and rituals came to mind, but this is not.
Okay.
These are not proposals for now.
Was there also, so I'll be on Zoom next weekend.
Right.
So I just want to put it out, like if we all go to, I'm inviting us to go on a lunch. Just put it out there, just so I'm realizing this is my last weekend
Oh,
being
yeah.
here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be kind of joining,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
What
You
now?
must all go to lunch together. That's
Yeah.
decided.
Today.
Yeah, because next
Oh.
I'm traveling to Europe next month.
Oh.
So I'll be in Italy in June. I'll be joining for part of it, like Jade.
Ah.
So,
Ah.
but invited. Let's go to lunch again.
And she already knew that ahead of time, so
I did. Yeah.
that was part of her decision making. Okay. Okay.
Endings. Endings are coming.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to help me out with this. Everyone, return to yourself and what we've been talking about, okay? And how you're feeling, just generally. I know those are very vague instructions, but do what you will with them. And what you want right now. You know, we've had some words. We've had trauma, we've had reach, we've had initiation. And get in touch with, if we did a ritual right now, ritual constellation, not a ritual, a ritual constellation right now, that touched something that was important for you. Just feel that inside, what that might be. Don't worry about putting it into words yet. Just find the shape of what you might like touched. You know, grief, death, initiation, seeing, being included, belonging, etc., etc., etc. They can be so-called problem words or so-called solution words. It doesn't matter. Just feel it for a moment.
Been feeling it.
And when you feel like you have it, you're going to have to say one word, which will be, simplification is really helpful for rituals. Right? So a word like grief or initiation or belonging, yeah? So find your word.
I'm worrying that I missed the question.
What would you like a ritual to address for you right now? Excellent. In a perfect world, what's your word?
Loss.
Okay. Yes, that was a key word from yesterday. I'm going to do a little sort of mind mapping thing.
Inclusion.
Shame for me.
I'm sorry.
Shame.
Shame.
Healer.
Belonging.
Belonging.
Being big is what I thought, but it kind of goes with healer, what Christina said. It's like stepping into that
Can I put up being big or bigness?
bigness, sure.
So as you're having this experience, I invite you to have that dual attention. Have the experience, go ahead and have the experience, but also notice I'm creating on the fly here, okay? Which means you can too. And then just, hold your learner hat. Okay. What I'd like you to do, embrace your word at the same time you embrace that others are embracing other words. Yeah? So you can be like really fierce and strong and like, whoa, there's this word I like. I really like this word. This is a good word for me right now. And that other people feeling their words doesn't exclude you and your word doesn't exclude theirs. Just sort of feel that. And in fact, I'm sure you're all looking at this and going, wow, these all resonate with each other. They're all facets on a diamond. And some of them have a clear opposite, so you can hold both or notice both. Inclusion, exclusion, shame, pride, loss, either grieving or gaining. There's different ways of thinking of loss. Yeah? Belonging, exclusion, bigness, smallness, healer, healed, or one who needs healing. And as you have your word, I want you to find something in this room that is movable and belongs to me. Nothing over there, please. Still have the bag of stuff over there that I brought in yesterday. And take your time. You're going to find an object that represents your thing. And this is really important. If you notice, like, there's this thing I want, and someone else goes for it first, let that be okay. And find the thing. I just really want to be.
Warlock.
No one can take the Pegasus. It's got too much going on, right?
Are you kidding? Or serious?
Semi-serious. It's got a lot of attention in the room, so you know, it's one of those things.
Just imagining a free for all.
So take your time. Much like gonna like upend again the bag in the corner. And it could be a piece of cloth, it could be a plant, it could be a rock, it could be
I thought you were gonna take this, I guess.
Just to be defiant.
could you put that back?
Really?
Really?
Okay, you said not the Pegasus, so I'll just...
No,
We're not
you
using
can have that. It's just I want to slow down the energy of this a little bit. Let's slow it down. I guess what I'm asking people to do, don't get attached to the object. The object's just a marker, right? It's just a placeholder.
Scarcity.
Some of our, the trauma stuff around it, it's gotta be like this or else, right? So just, however it shows up is good. Yeah? Okay, so find an object and bring it into the middle of the room that represents your word. And just take your time. All right. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to do that with a little bit more intention, a little bit more energy of
Placement.
just some care,
I already feel soothed by this. This is nice.
Now I'm going to invite you to find one more.
Another object.
Again, take your
Same
time.
intention.
Same,
So 2 representatives for the same thing.
For a moment, just have an experience, sort of a constellation experience. Feel in your body as you focus on different parts, as you see the whole. If you need to get up and move around a little bit, I ask you to go around it rather than over it. But if you need to move a little bit to feel it, are there parts that feel yummy, parts that feel cold, parts that charm you, parts that confuse you? Just feel it in your body a little bit. Look at it from a long distance, a close distance, from a different angle. Yeah, just sitting in front of it, bowing in front of it, standing up strong in front of it, getting on a chair. Just see what your body wants to do and start to trust your body a little bit. And it's definitely okay to step over bodies if you need to move. And notice that you don't know what most of them meant to the person who put them there. That isn't important. Just feel the different parts. And bring to mind the thing you hoped for from doing this ritual constellation, if you haven't already. And again, very slowly, please, kind of not all at once, just take your time. Remember, in a constellation with people, if everybody moves at once, it's kind of like chaotic. But if one person moves and then another one adjusts for that and another one adjusts for that, you know? So if you want to move one or both of your objects in any way, go ahead and do that. So I just felt something missing, so I'm going to go get two objects that represent what Peter would have liked. And again, you can keep adjusting your pieces if you want to. And also, if you want to move one more time. And then I invite you to allow one new word to bubble up for you from this. And when you're ready, say the word.
Healing.
Holding. Mercy.
Grief.
Connected.
Included.
And Amy, since you brought in the tinsha, would you ring them to bring it to a close?
What are they called?
Tinsha.
Tinsha.
And then with great reverence, take your time and return the items to where you got them. Let them go back to being what they were and are. Kind of like that this is the last thing.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
leaving it
that was
there
cool.
while we talk.
Do you agree?
Sure.
Very Japanese.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Mhm.
Interesting. I'm a compulsive rock collector.
Mm.
And so when a place I used to live, Block Island, I would just sit and find these kinds of rocks, little smooth rocks on the beach. And I keep a bag of them here, just along with the Kleenex and the towels for when I run out. And just yesterday morning, I refilled the bowl.
Mm.
Oh,
Just in time.
It was about halfway, because every once in a while I let a client take something. If they've connected like with the love of their father for the first time, take a stone, be a worry stone for that kind of thing.
Making anchor.
Exactly, physical anchor. So it's just kind of funny that it was halfway empty until
Mm.
yesterday.
Anchor.
Anchor.
Physical anchor. It's just something that you do that it's a stimulus response. Okay, so continuing in the spirit of reverence, although humor is certainly, but staying in our weight in a sense. And sharing about what you noticed in that constellation for yourself, or what you saw, or what you experienced. Anything that you want to share?
After the bell ringing, I felt a new word bubble up, and that was surrender. And that it felt like reaching the next kind of threshold, I guess, which was to stop doing and just give in to it.
Mm.
I loved the feeling of it all being one community constellation. I wasn't really expecting that. I mean, I thought, we were each going to have our own experience, which we did, but I just loved the interconnectedness.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Laying out that bigger piece of fabric, and then sitting back from it and calling it conclusion, and sitting back from it and going, well, shouldn't you be right in there? And I was like, no. Conclusion means being able to see what really belongs and what's going to show up in that space, I guess. And then when I got to mercy, I was like, I don't talk about mercy very much. And I think there was mercy involved in having everyone care about each other to do this. Kind of reclaiming that word for acts of kindness are acts of mercy. I don't know what that means, but felt it.
I would say in every 10th or 20th constellation, John B, these days, and I go through cycles, I feel like I need to bring in a representation for mercy.
Mm.
The system is just desperate for a little mercy.
Mm.
And it usually helps things along quite a bit. So thank you for that word.
Mm.
Yeah, I felt like several times energy shifts with how we placed our objects. So it was interesting to see how things were shifting even though there were no healing sentences. Completely silent, and yet with objects, movement, I did shift things. So it was an interesting experience. It reminded me of Dan Coppingham's work.
Don Compenhout, yeah.
Coppingham's, yeah. his ritual stuff is very powerful for me, and I haven't experienced it personally, but through Yana, she studied with him.
Okay. I'm sure he has videos or something. I know he has a book.
Yeah,
I'll leave this here.
she does a lot. He does a lot of work with shamanic circle.
And he's very shamanically informed. He's very European.
And very sciencey too, so it's an interesting combination.
And also gay.
He's,
Oh,
he's the one who wrote The Queer Breath of the Universe, or created that.
Oh,
Ritual.
I didn't know that.
It was him.
Yeah.
And I'll put that up again, but I just don't want to keep this.
It just reminds me that rituals are really powerful and subtle.
Yeah, they're not, there's no version of which we boil this down to an explanation, which is fine.
And
It
if we
stays
start,
in the place of right brain and
Yeah.
gestalts.
right, and I try not to, because I can, like, there's thousands of words I can say about this, but it's not necessary.
Jeff or Guy, anything you want to say about this experience?
I didn't have much of a, I mean, I found it hard to relate to. I appreciated that, the nice big piece of fabric that Jean-Bede laid out. I thought about it as people started to place things on it, and I was like, oh, is that okay? I wondered, like, it seemed like a big space kind of calling. I was like, well, would that be okay, or is that kind of like messing with other people's things? Then I remembered it was inclusion, and I was like, okay, so maybe it's okay.
I have the same thing.
Maybe it's
I wondered that also.
Yeah,
Should it be
yeah.
okay if I put my stuff on it?
Right, yeah.
That's
So,
Or should be not okay if I don't put stuff.
well, yeah.
Right?
I was waiting for stuff to arrive.
Yeah. I kind of,
And there it is. There's the systemics of it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of went for it then.
Well, also we had this frame of community
Mhm.
and community building. I wonder if maybe the feelings would have been different had we not had that preface. I don't know.
Yeah. And I do think any community, and this community in particular, is asking the questions of what's okay, what's not okay. Right? I think that's natural sort of process. So yeah. Was that it, Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have much come up specifically, except that I've always had a kind of an aversion to ritual in general, and maybe that's blocking something. I don't know, but there wasn't really much come up.
If it's neutral, that's different than an aversion.
I mean, I didn't feel put off or
Yeah.
angry about it. It's just there.
Something I appreciated about it was that I have this idea that a ritual has to be like complex, or like we have to do a bunch of steps or something. And it feels a little daunting. Like, I know it feels right, but like how? And essentially what we just did right there was create an altar. And like, that was it. It's just in that. And that was like, oh, yeah. That's all it takes.
And I just made that up. We could have ended up doing 20 other things. right?
And I had a reaction when you said just created an altar.
That's fair.
Just recreated an altar.
Yeah.
Not just created an altar.
Mm.
And
Just another altar.
what I meant by that is
So casual.
yeah, exactly. Like, it is the altar. It's not like a bunch of steps around the altar.
Yeah.
It wasn't just to minimize altars.
It felt good not to worry much about the actual symbolism of the objects. Just going,
Yeah.
they all relate, and there's room for movement, and I don't have to worry about a moral or spiritual reading out of it.
And that whatever reaction you had, or whatever you noticed, or whatever you were asking questions about, or whatever, becomes, is your constellation. Yeah? It's not like, there's this thing called the constellation, and then there's all this stuff around it that are thoughts or whatever. It's all part of the constellation. So Jeff and his neutrality and his, some sense of aversion to ritual is included. It has a place here. I mean, it's really not hard to think of times when rituals have been used in ways that none of us would like, right? Like, we're with you, Jeff, on that whole aversion to rituals thing, right? We can find that place where that's a kind of a useful frame, right? And Guy also not having tons of response, but put out the word loss and then end up with the word grief, and sort of lying down next to it. And so including whatever's working for Guy today, putting Guy today around all that, right? And with Sean B, and the whole question of her inclusion and question of belonging, not only of her being and her place here, but about things that matter to her, belonging. And everything for everyone else, yeah? Including Peter. Including Peter's absence, which is always a funny constellation move. This is no different than doing a person constellation. Now, it's different in terms of the brick and mortar of it, yeah? Whether you do a constellation one-on-one or in a large group, you do it outdoors, you do it with stuff on a tabletop, it matters, those things are different. They are different. But the underlying systemics that you're paying attention to and including don't change from context to context. Yeah? And then what you get to do is work from your strengths. Yeah. Our own style of constellating. Huh? One of the things I've definitively learned recently, I love social issues constellations. I suck at meeting them. I've now done 3 or 4 of them, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not so good at it. And that's okay. That's fine. It's worth noticing. There's a particular thing you try. I went through a little spate of trying to do past life constellations because I saw Gary Stewart doing them, and it was brilliant. I sucked at that. I was so lost. I could not figure out what was a resolution for the life of me. Made everyone very cranky. It's so, yeah. But I know what I'm good at. Right? And that's okay. Yeah. So if you like stuff and rocks and cool fabrics and getting people to set up altars, you know, if you like, yeah.
When you practice, do you source clients differently than do your regular constellation? Because I'm thinking,
I'm sorry, I haven't heard everything that you said. So you're going to have to start over.
okay, so when you source clients for practice, you haven't tried this before, past life constellation, but you want to.
Right.
I feel like it's different than the regular client that comes for healing and you know you're good at it and you charge X.
Yeah, there's going to be a first time with them too, though.
Okay. Yeah.
And I did charge people that day.
What does source clients mean?
Find clients
Oh.
for practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying.
When you source clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Find
Like-
people to practice on.
I was wondering that too.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's why I was a little confused as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we were all a little confused
Russian
on
jargon.
the language. She's just talking about when you're working with people for practice and they're not paying, it's different than when they are paying.
Yeah. I guess I have
And it is different, but
Yeah.
even with people who are
That's
paying,
okay.
there's gonna be so many first times for everything. Even with people who are paying. You know?
That's what I was thinking too. Like, how do you know, like, this is something I'm not good at versus like, this needs a little more work.
You do it enough and you fall on
get
your
me
face
better.
and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with that particular format. And it's a feeling. There's a different feeling from I didn't do that well, but I could do it better.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I've now done it 2 or 3 times, and there's something I'm not finding. And I think I need to let that one go. Unless for some reason you're super motivated to get good at it. I mean, there are people who are crappy piano players, and they know it, and they can feel it. But dang it, they're going to keep working at it until they get themselves better, and that's perfectly noble as well. You might not want to have anyone pay for that piano playing.
Ouch.
And I'm going to send you all off. It's 12:30.
All right.
Since it was yours, could you put that away?
And we'll go to lunch together.
Where do you want to go?
Yeah, we talked about something different.